Hey there, I am back with a preview of the Constellation from Deck Idea. Now, this is a deck that's funding on Kickstarter right now as we speak. So if you like what you see here, consider going down and supporting the campaign. I'll put a link down in the description where you can do so. But I appreciate Jason, the designer behind Deck Idea, sending me this deck out so that I could give you guys a little bit of a preview of what to expect from the campaign. Now, this Deck Idea has done a lot of different designs in the past. They're usually fun, quirky, really highly creative designs, like what he did with the 1969 space theme deck, the Serpent, or the Sandwich deck, if you guys remember some of those from the past. But with the Constellation, he decided to go after a much more elegant feeling deck inspired by the constellations of the night sky, and primarily looking at the constellations of the zodiac. Now we all know what that is, and its ties to astrology throughout history, but it's also a really common theme for decks of cards. Some of them are done really well, some of them aren't. Now let's see how Jason did with the Constellation here. Now, starting with the tuck case, you can see elegance right off the bat. It's a deep black matte cardstock, and it is covered with foil. Now, this is the more standard version of the deck. It's done in a champagne gold foil. Every inch of the design is done in that gold foil. It also has a really slight embossing. Jason mentioned that the embossing is going to be amped up a little bit in the final version of the deck. You can expect kind of tweaks between the prototype version of the deck and the final version, but it's an amazingly impactful look to it overall. Very ornate details throughout. You have nice small letters in the center with the name of the deck, the Constellation, Deck Idea mentioned at the top, but then the rest of it is just covered with different patterning. You have kind of radial designs, almost like a shining sun. You have swirling designs, almost like stars swirling in the sky, and then a series of borders with different patterns. And there's little small details too. You can see little eyes making their appearance there. Or if you look at some of these dots, they actually form a patterning of the phases of the moon running down the sides. So really beautiful designs. That gold then wraps cleanly across to the sides. We have the Constellation on one side, and then Deck Idea Volume 1 on the other. There's a better look at those moon phases. The back is going to feature a modified version of the back design of the cards, but again, all done in that beautiful embossed gold foil. And then the bottom, of course, you're going to get a little bit of ad copy like you usually do with decks. And then Deck Idea Volume 1 mentioned on the top again. That gold band continues on to the inner flap, giving you a little bit of extra detail there. Stars, or kind of abstract depictions of stars on the inner flaps, and you get some really nice interior printing as well. You can see the stars going here, and maybe if you peek and get the light, you can see Taurus, the first of our constellations there. The interior actually maps out the entire night sky. So if you unfold the box, or if you look through the interior, it forms an entire scene showing all of the constellations. Really cool touch to it with that interior printing. That's the tuck case, but let's take a look at the cards. And we'll start with the back design. And here it is. So much like we're looking at on the tuck case, same basic design principles used here, but it's a mixture of gold with little accents of red. I like the addition of the red. I think it really helps the entire design pop, gives it a little bit more depth compared to the tuck case. So I think it's a great addition. You have the central element here, just kind of this circle with a star in the center, moon phases, another nod to the skies, and then stars depicted around in an arc. You have the name of the deck, nice small letters there, the Constellation, and then red and gold patterning throughout. Now, on the final version of the deck, you don't see it here, but on the final version, this is actually going to feature metallic inks for the gold. Really help this pop even more. But beautiful framing on it, finishes out with that nice thin white poker border for an elegant and really kind of impactful back design, but still kind of functional, not overly distracting or cluttered or anything like that. There's the back design. For the jokers, you get what he calls a diptych. I wouldn't necessarily call it exactly a diptych, just because they don't flow together quite as well, but it is a pair of cards that depict all of the constellations that we're going to see celebrated throughout this deck. You can see all of them here. It lists the dates that they're associated with. So in the zodiac, each of the constellations and the symbols associated with them has a set of dates. So like, for example, my birth date is in the month of July, so I would be a Cancer. And so there's my symbol or my constellation there. but beautifully depicted, kind of a fun look. And I always love looking at the constellations just because these are supposed to be depicted to look like animals, and you can kind of see the I'll call it the active imagination that some of the early astrologers had to see these as these constellations as animals. Like this little Y shape here is supposed to actually remind somebody of a crab. Not really sure how that works, but it is what it is. So there is your pair of jokers. You also get an ad card. Now this is a special ad card that's specifically for the prototype. So if you give this a read, it's going to mention thank you for reviewing the deck kind of thing. But obviously there'll be a modified ad card for the final deck. And then we get into the cards themselves. So here's the Ace of Spades, obviously the power ace of the deck. It's going to feature more gold metallic inks on it to really amp up the design even more. And it has this big, bold, beautiful spade pip in the center. Has the signs of the zodiac in a ring around the center with the eye in the middle. And you can see all of those different signs ringed around. And then kind of a radial design giving you that nice, fat, and impactful spade pip in the center. I like that he went kind of minimal with the lettering on the deck. Name of the deck and deck idea mentioned again, but kind of small letters just so it doesn't give a big distraction. And then you have nice pips and indices on all four corners. Nice touch for functionality of the deck, just so that you can fan the deck to the left or to the right, either direction, and it's still kind of functional, so it doesn't leave out the left-handed folks. And then you have the pip in the corner there, black, fairly standard looking pip, but rimmed in gold to give it a little extra touch. And then I like the addition of these little banners running down the side featuring the phases of the moon once again. So there's your Ace of Spades. The rest of the number cards kind of follow suit to what you would expect from a more normal deck of cards. They feature the pips in the center. They are black and then rimmed with gold to give it a little extra impact to them, but they're fairly standard layout to them. A little bit of a custom layout on some of the cards, like the 9 here arrayed in a grid, but nothing too out of the ordinary. Red cards are more the same. The other 3 aces, by the way, are kind of more normal aces, but you can see doesn't quite show up as well with the red contrast, but they are lined in gold just like the black cards are. So there are your hearts, and then going into the clubs. These have a different feel to them without the stem at the bottom. And finishing out with the diamonds. A very classic shape to the diamonds there. So there's your number cards. Nice, functional. Nothing too special about them, but they're well done. And then you get to the quartz. And this is why Zodiac is such a common theme for decks of cards. There's 12 quartz, there's 12 signs of the Zodiac. It's kind of a natural fit. And so Jason works that in here, allowing each one of the court cards to feature one of the symbols of the Zodiac on these beautiful two-way illustrations. And so you can see, we'll focus in here on the Jack of Spades to start. Features depiction of the animal that's most commonly associated with that sign. So here we're looking at Aries, and you have the ram associated on either side. Beautiful curling horns, done in a mixture of that gold and then the red. Really nice combo against that black. And then you have the banner. For the black cards, it's going to be a black banner running down the center. And on the banner, you'll see the name here. So Aries mentioned, just in case you don't know which one it is, as well as the Zodiac symbol represented here on the corners. I like that it's a two-way design. I like that even though you have the banner kind of forming that hard break between the two sides, I like one of the little touches I like those moments where it kind of breaks over the border here, like where you can see the leg of the ram just breaking over to the other side. I think it's a nice little touch. Has nice gold framing on the background. Really well done. As you go through the others, you have Gemini on the Queen of Spades. I've mentioned as the twins, so you can see the two of them there. That red hair, really dynamic. And then Taurus, usually depicted as a bull on the King of Spades. The other nice little touch you'll see here at the top of each one, just to mark them as royalty, he has kind of an abstract depiction of a crown on each one. So each one has a successively more ornate crown, from the Jack of Spades, just represented by this triangle, and then the Queen of Spades and the King of Spades crown. And that's going to be depicted across all of these. So now as you go through the Jack of Hearts, you'll see here now when we get to the red cards, same basic idea with the animal depicted on both sides, but then a red banner this time in the center. I will say the red banner, it's a little bit harder to read some of that gold on there. Hoping it'll show up a little better with the actual metallic inks, but it is a little bit harder to see compared to the contrast you get on the black, but still not bad. So there's Cancer depicted as the crab, Virgo as the Virgin, and Leo as the King of Hearts. This is my favorite core card of the ball. I love the Black Lion. It's a really cool depiction there. And then going through the clubs, you have Libra represented as the scales, Sagittarius as the centaur. Usually he's actually depicted as male, but since it's on the Queen of Clubs, I think you switch it over to a female. And then the Scorpion is Scorpio. And then finally, the Jack of Diamonds, you have Capricorn as the sea goat, half fish. Queen of Diamonds is Aquarius, the water pourer. And then Pisces as the two fish, the last one. So that is the look at the cards. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about the handling of this deck right here, just because this is a prototype. The actual cards are going to be printed by Cartamundi on their slimline stock. You know how that handles. If you felt one of their decks, you know it is my favorite stock, and that True Linen finish, my favorite in the world. So I have no doubt the handling is going to be great on these. But I will just take a second to talk a little bit about the second version of the deck, because I think that one's really special. This is the Champagne Gold edition of the deck, but there's a second one, the Mystique Purple deck. And let me talk a little bit about that one. So the Mystique Purple features a tuck case that has purple foil on it instead of the gold, but it also features some really cool elements using UV invisible ink. Both on the tuck and on the card backs themselves, you'll get little touches of the UV ink that only show up when you shine it under a black light. What that means is you look at some of the core cards, when you shine a black light on them, you'll be able to see the constellations and the stars glowing on the character, something that won't show up in the light. The other kind of cool touch on it is the cutouts that are going to be in the box. So with the purple version of the deck, you'll get a tuck case that actually has cutouts in it and allows some of that glowing card to shine through. It's some really kind of cool creative elements that amp up the feel of the second version of the deck. So not just one, but two decks, and a lot of really cool touches on the second one that kind of make it worth your time to consider looking at both decks. But all that said, that is the look at the Constellation. I'm a big fan. I'm going to be a backer of this deck on day one. You guys should definitely consider doing that too. I think it's going to be a great campaign. And in my opinion, I'm a fan of Jason's work with Deck Idea. This is, I think, their best work yet. So congrats to Jason on the launch of another campaign. Best of luck on it. Like I said, check out the link in the description if you guys are interested in this one yourself. It's a great looking campaign, reasonably priced decks. I think these are all going to be priced in the kind of $14, $15 range. So not an excessively expensive deck for all the kind of luxury touches that you get. But that's it for now. That is the look at Constellation from Deck Idea. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews and unboxings, and let me know what else you want to see in the future. But for now, I'll see you for the next one.